Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here, and welcome to another villains ranking video. Today, I'm going to be ranking baddies from the Muppets franchise. One thing before we begin though, I won't be counting villain protagonists, so that means I won't be including Scrooge. With that said, let the countdown begin. Officer Meanie from A Muppet's Christmas Letters to Santa. Frank Meanie is the head of an airport security and an obstacle for the Muppets' quest to the North Pole. He's a bully who resents anyone unusual and loves to abuse his position of power. I've said before that I think Letters to Santa is the laziest Muppets Christmas special, and Officer Meanie is sadly a victim of that weak effort. Look, I get that he's technically a celebrity cameo, and the showrunners clearly only had Nathan Lane for maybe a day at most, but you can create a memorable and well-developed villain through just a short appearance, with the right creative choices. So Letters to Santa has no excuses. I mean, Frank's whole scorned by Santa for not getting a present as a kid backstory is as cliche as festive baddie motives come.
Keep quiet! I'm making up for the presents that I never got!
Sure, cliches aren't inherently wrong, but this special fails to find a comedic twist or an emotional hook to make up for said unoriginality. The scene goes like this. Frank exposition dumps his whole childhood trauma, then the Muppets respond with this one quick line.
But there's always time to change. I mean, what if you did something really nice right now?
And somehow, that's enough to convince Frank to completely change after 40 years of being a jerk. It's such a rushed series of beats that it makes his redemption seem hollow and empty. Don't get me wrong, Nathan Lane is excellent in the role. He gets into the Muppety spirit, while also coming off as effectively authoritative.
I got little shrimps like you.
I'm a king prawn.
Same thing.
Oh, and he bounces off fantastically against Bobo's usual himbo minion charms.
Ding ding ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding ding ding.
Stop that.
It's the material provided that makes this villain fall flat. From the lack of a good changing the villain's heart speech from Kermit, to the let's get this scene over and done with style of direction. It's all very bare minimum. Dr. Hugo Crassman from Kermit's Swamp Years. Hugo is a high school teacher who plans on teaching frog dissection to his class soon. So he goes on a hunt to catch a young Kermit and his childhood friends. Dr. Crassman is an unoriginal combo of two other Muppets villains, making it near impossible for me to highlight what makes him special on this list. However, I do see the fun in making a kids movie villain be a really terrible teacher, because that's relatable for the target audience. Hugo is a creepy and deranged educator who cares less about teaching itself or the merits of science, and is way more invested in the gory mutilation of helpless animals. Heck, he's so weirdly obsessed with cutting up amphibians that he has no interest in casual chit-chat with those around him.
When I was youngin',
Good night, Wilson.
I pretended I was a frog. I never worried at all.
Good night, Wilson.
While Hugo's lunacy might confuse or even disturb folks, the movie does explain his bizarre bloodlust towards froggies. It turns out that when Hugo was a kid, a frog tried to talk to him in science class, but no one believed him. Ever since then, he's become angrily vengeful towards frogs, hence his obsessive nature and unsettling excitement over dissection lessons. Kermit then later outs his ability to talk right in front of Crassman's class, and Hugo finally feels validated.
You are a certifiable nutball.
Thank you.
All right, back it up.
It's a very cut and dry attempt at a redeemable villain, and I wouldn't exactly say that I feel any more safe about this weirdo teaching kids, but I am impressed that a preschool movie was willing to tackle the heavy subject of animal abuse. Dominic Bad Guy from Muppets Most Wanted. Mr. Bad Guy is a criminal thief who convinces the Muppets that he's a successful manager, and they agree to let him run the troupe's world tour, all while he and Constantine the Frog, who has secretly replaced Kermit, use each tour stop to steal another clue towards their ultimate heist, the British Crown Jewels. Dominic is a manipulative con man who gains the Muppets' trust by constantly bombing them with good news, and creepily gaslighting anyone who expresses concern.
Guys, I'm not sure we can do this, you know?
Okay, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of believing in ourselves, raise your hands.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I believe
And all
in
those
this.
in favour of just giving up.
Dom's partner, Constantine, doesn't respect him at all and sees him as his own number two in the scheme. This makes Dominic feel underappreciated, but he never lets his sulky jealousy get in the way of the heist. Well, until the double cross, that is. Heck, Dom is the brains of this duo, someone who knows every nook and cranny of the lore behind their treasure hunt, and this helps our villains to be open-minded about each clue's secret.
Write it in lemon juice, then simply apply heat to reveal Colonel Blood's map.
I'd actually argue that Dominic is taking the scheme way more seriously. He's far more committed to his character than Constantine is to his, and has to always nudge his frog partner into being a more believable Kermit.
Am I wearing sign that says bother me?
What was that? What was that?
Dom is best remembered for his alter ego, the Lemur, a persona that he hypes up as cool and mysterious, but once we get the big reveal, yeah, it's just a middle-aged man in a tacky costume that doesn't fit him. It's quite the payoff, after seeing him massage his own ego over it throughout the whole film.
Look at his little costume, that's adorable.
I'm not adorable.
He is adorable.
Sadly, Dominic Bad Guy is let down a lot by Ricky Gervais's dull performance. Yep, we have another villain ruined by Gervais's bored acting.
Yeah, I know. You're number one, I'm number two. I think you mentioned that before.
Ricky is so flat and uncharismatic in this film that A, I don't believe that he could ever charm the Muppets, B, he becomes woefully overshadowed by the Muppets' colourful personalities, C, he lacks any screen presence at all as a baddie.
It seems that Blood's key is hidden in a marble bust of his accomplice, Godfrey the Unknown, which is kept in the statue room at the Prado Museum.
On script, Dominic is a decently written villain, but Gervais botches Mr. Bad Guy's potential by coming off like he's only here for a paycheck and couldn't care less about who the Muppets are. Tamanella from The Frog Prince. Wicked Witch Tamanella has not only turned the dashing Sir Robin the Brave into a frog, but she's also given a talking backwards curse to poor Princess Melora. With the princess now unable to communicate, Tamanella disguises herself as the king's long-lost sister and plans to take Melora's place as the next monarch in line. Now, yes, Tamanella is a goofy-faced baddie in a panto-style fairy tale, but do not assume that she's lacking in menace. Her body is rather bulky and tall for a Muppet, which gives her a creepy uncanny valley vibe, plus her self-taught magic is rather dang powerful. Every spell that she casts gives her the upper advantage as a baddie. You see, Sir Robin is in constant danger as a frog, which makes his role as the hero very, very difficult.
I brought you something for your breakfast.
Oh ho.
While the princess's inability to talk causes her much distress, because she can't warn others about her fake aunt, leaving her quite helpless. Just imagine being the only one that knows something bad is happening, but no one at all can understand a word you're trying to say. There's something creepy about that anxiety.
Daddy, this is outrageous! Why, this wasty old numbin isn't even your seal wrister! You can't make her quit win!
What is the girl saying?
I know what she's saying. She's trying to say that Tamanella is... Pop over, Froggy.
Tamanella doesn't just let her spells do all the work though. She's constantly on the ball when it comes to stopping Robin from being kissed. Plus she has a real knack for deflecting any attempts to expose her. Sure, she's conveniently lucky that the king is a complete idiot, but there are close calls now and again.
Tamanella!
Beg pardon?
There!
Why, dear me. She's pointing to Featherstone.
Featherstone, did you cast a spell on Melora?
Thankfully, the princess does have a clue to defeat Tamanella, but Her Highness's curse has warped the answer so much that Robin really has to think hard about the translation. This not only adds a lot of effective tension to the final showdown, it also challenges kids watching to decipher the princess's nonsense too.
Let me see. Bake the Paul and the candle of her brain could be, hake the call and the brandle of her bane. No. Oh, cake the brawl and the bandle of her hane.
The Frog Prince is a Muppets fairy tale, so of course the evil Tamanella does lose in the end, and there's an endearing charm to the B-movie special effects for her eventual defeat.
My power! You've destroyed my power!
Marla, Carla and Darla from The Great Muppet Caper. This trio of fashion models have teamed up with criminal Nikki Holiday to perform a series of heists throughout the movie. You might click X to doubt when I say this, but these supermodels are surprisingly menacing. Their tall statures and dark fashion give them an ominous predatory presence, and their posing talents help them to blend naturally into backgrounds for heists. As they glide across the environment, ready to prey on their next expensive target. They never fall into the cliche of ditzy fashion stars either, because they display a variety of skills and instincts that help with their crimes. Like they know the perfect timing for switching off the lights to snatch a necklace, or will use their performance backgrounds to stage stunts.
Oh! Ow! My knee! I think I've twisted it!
You all right? You've got to get up. You've got to go on.
I can't go on.
I also wouldn't say that the masculine Nikki is in control of them. Heck, Nikki is so smitten with their patsy, Miss Piggy, that the ladies have to fiercely order him to get his crap together as a villain.
Well, you better snap out of it, and fast. We've got to plant the goods on her to take the heat off us.
I know the plan, I just wish there was another way.
It is the only way.
and these models specialize in gadgets, so they have to lead most of the final break-in, while Nikki mainly serves as their lookout. As crooked as this trio are, they're admittedly pretty dang cool. Now, yes, their eventual defeat is kind of anticlimactic, but to be fair, supermodels are forced to stay in a certain shape that's not exactly built for combat. So it makes a lot of sense that actual martial artist Miss Piggy beats them pretty easily. Rachel Bitterman from It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie. Miss Bitterman is the new owner of the Muppets Theatre, and the Muppets have until Christmas Eve to pay her everything that they owe her, or said theatre will be demolished. Rachel is as generic and formulaic as modern setting kids movie villains come. The money-hungry capitalist who was out to crush dreams and replace a humble beloved place with a commercial eyesore. Been there, done that. However, it is awesome to see a woman play this kind of role for once. After so many years of family movies reserving the part mainly for men, there's just something empowering about a woman dominating the world around her as a ruthless businesswoman. She's an imposing tycoon who owns every venture in the city. You can't ruin her reputation or expose her crooked crimes, because she owns all the media. It's almost like she's an invincible queen and the city is a kingdom.
By now I thought you would have realized I'm the bad guy.
Although, she's not shy about using her feminine charms to get away. She may be icy cold, but she confidently knows that she can be hot, and will shamelessly flaunt her attractiveness to make men fall down at her feet.
Listen to me, my little king prawn king. You answer this question, and I'll give you your Christmas bonus.
I'd also like that in the film's alternate timeline, she doesn't just replace the Muppets Theatre with yet another shopping mall, but rather a sleazy, grimy nightclub that exploits the Muppets themselves. Talk about a dark dystopian future.
Miss Bitterman?
Yes?
We're all out of mineral water.
Then find some empty bottles and fill it with tap water.
But...
If I'm frank though, I feel like everything about Rachel has been done better and more interestingly in other Muppets movies. Rachel is a good villain, but Joan Cusack is cracking her back while carrying the weight of this character, because she's the one bringing all the much needed charisma.
The point is, I believe in money, not dreams.
The Wicked Witch of the West from Muppets Wizard of Oz. Oz's despicable enchantress is a narcissistic diva who is after Dorothy because she has the Wicked Witch's sister's special sparkly shoes. With assistance from a bunch of bikers that she's brainwashed, the witch tries everything to get in the way of Dorothy's quest. This film gives the Wicked Witch a new modern twist, portraying her as a vain biker celebrity with a very own reality TV show. Yeah, it's not exactly a unique idea for updating the witch, but any satire and vapid fame culture is always going to fit Miss Piggy.
Bonjour! Witch of the West coming at you from my lair of evil! Good news, fans. In order to keep up with the Joneses, I've decided to lend my talent to reality television.
I'm honestly bewildered and surprised how it took this long to cast Miss Piggy as a villain, because her diva persona is so perfect for a classic campy baddie, and Muppets Wizard of Oz proves how much she excels as a flamboyant fairy tale villainess. Sure, Piggy is meant to be part of the wholesome, fun Muppets troupe, but she does have an entitled and bratty side, and this TV movie has a lot of fun embracing that aspect of the swine.
If I want those silver shoes, I'll have to pry them off her cold, dead carcass!
Writing the Wicked Witch as a cruel and malicious force of evil who has a doomful, all-seeing presence in the land of Oz, but at the same time, she has a twinge of black humor to her villainy and loves to bring a glam rock style to her presentation.
This is my show! Sorry, you fail!
As cartoony as this movie is, the witch's take on violence can be quite intense for a family film. Heck, a shredding of our heroes is somehow extra detailed because she's basically taking apart easy to dismember puppets. Unfortunately, the witch's big showdown against Dorothy is kind of a whimper. After hyping up a possible exciting fight, the movie just ends up surrendering to its budget constraints, and said fight ends before it can even start. Yeah, it's played for laughs, but it all still comes off as kind of a cop-out. So we're halfway through my list. Feel free to click the join button below to become a member and enjoy exclusive rewards. Anyway, back to the video. Nicky Holiday from The Great Muppet Caper. Nicky is a smarmy fella who pathetically sponges off of his rich, successful fashionista sister, enjoying the high life, all while he secretly leads a trio of models in a series of thefts. from the heist of his very own sister's fancy necklace's jewels to the attempted robbery of the famous baseball diamond. However, his villainy comes to a crossroad when he's enchanted by Miss Piggy, who happens to be the fall girl for the gang of thieves. Nicky claims that his feelings are real and from the heart, but personally, I think it comes off more as a creepy fetishization.
Miss Piggy, you're a very different looking woman.
Regardless of how genuine his romantic desires are, it's still compelling to see this once committed professional criminal becoming weak and wobbly at the knees over someone he's supposed to later frame, as he battles between his criminal responsibilities and a new attraction towards a victim, with the late great Charles Grodin putting 100% into selling this villain's crazy infatuation for a felt puppet.
Gangway, watch it! Come on through!
She's so wonderful.
While the supermodels do most of the grunt work, Nicky is still an active part of every crime in the movie. I'd say that he's best at bringing his natural charisma to the game, whether he's swaying Miss Piggy into falling for him, or helping make stage situations seem more believable to other characters.
Miss Piggy stole my necklace.
Oh! Miss Piggy, how could you?
No, I don't know anything about it.
He's also a very stealthy and intricate leader on the night of the baseball diamond heist, keeping the crime highly organized while playing his part without hogging all the action from the ladies. Unfortunately for Nicky though, he doesn't seem to realize that he's framed one of the strongest Muppets, and he totally regrets his false incrimination of the diva by the very end. K. Edgar Singer from Muppets from Space. This J. Edgar Hoover parody character is a government operative who really wants to prove that aliens exist. So, when Gonzo tries to reach his outer space family, Singer goes to lengths to track the whatever down, in hopes of getting answers, even if he has to dissect Gonzo's brain. While Edgar is very much the villain, he's 100% correct in his findings as an agent. So we do kind of understand his frustrations over never being believed. Singer is genuinely skilled at paranormal research, and none of his clues are fabricated, yet the military refused to listen to him.
I hired you to find me an alien, and you bring me doctored photos and a spiral.
This constant rejection has made him extremely sensitive to laughter, and his sudden outbursts can be quite intimidating.
Don't laugh at me!
Despite his declining sanity, there's a sophisticated strategy to his villainy, from the fact that his agency is geniusly disguised as a mundane cement factory, to how he cunningly manipulates Gonzo into trusting his intentions.
We're with the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Aliens. We feel your pain, Gonzo.
They feel my pain.
To be honest though, I mainly love his dynamic with Bobo. Now yes, this isn't the only time that Bobo has played the baddie sidekick, but I do think that this film gives him his best minion material to date. All because Singer works so brilliantly as a ticking time bomb next to the chilled out bear.
Retro.
Yes, sir?
The remote.
The goat?
The remote!
In the finale, Edgar's public humiliation actually endears Gonzo's family, and they invite him to be their jester-like ambassador. Suddenly, the once tense Singer finds peace at long last.
To travel the stars like a modern-day Magellan. To be up there with John Glenn, Neil Armstrong.
Edgar clearly joined his profession out of a sincere passion for finding life in space, but his constant lack of success has made him cynical and paranoid. Now he can actually live amongst the stars, learn everything he wants to about aliens, and perform an entertainment job that rewards his failures. Tex Richman from The Muppets 2011. This evil businessman is planning to buy the Muppet studio so that he can drill the oil underneath it. Upon hearing this, the Muppets put on a telethon to raise enough funds to save their studio. Okay, yes, Tex is yet another antagonist that's out to demolish a Muppets building for profit, but I would say that this is an example of the trope executed very well. Firstly, out of every corrupt villain in a suit, Tex commands himself the best to me. He suavely owns the fancy clothes that he wears, looks consistently intimidating behind an office desk, and has the total aura of a smug CEO who lives in a luxury bubble.
Gee, it's good to be... Gentlemen, please! No singing in my office.
Secondly, Tex isn't just buying the studio for oil tycoon cash, he's also planning to take the Muppets name itself, and replace our heroes with their edgy rivals, the Muppets. Tex isn't simply settling for oil money, he also sees the grand scope capitalist potential of inheriting the Muppets brand, all at the cost of the Muppets' careers and legacy.
Muppets are a hard, cynical act for a hard, cynical world.
Thirdly, Tex doesn't just slack off in his office for the whole film. Sure, he likes to enjoy his privilege, but the instant that he sees that the telethon is a success, he immediately drives straight into action and attempts stunt after stunt to ruin the Muppets broadcast.
We're gonna have to get up on that roof and shut him down for good.
My problem with Tex comes down to his character's ending. Right at the credits, he gets hit by Gonzo's bowling ball, randomly laughs like a madman, and suddenly changes his mind about the Muppet Studio. What makes this rush redemption all the more frustrating is that there are deleted scenes that got this all across much better. Constance Hatchaway from Muppets Haunted Mansion. Based on the character from the classic Disney attraction, Constance is an evil axe-wielding ghost bride who has a history of killing all of her rich husbands. This Halloween, Miss Hatchaway seduces the celebrity Muppet Pepe and plans to make him into her 6th victim. When this villain tries to win over Pepe, she lays on the romance thick by blowing smoke up the egotistical prawn's butt and taking advantage of his desperate desire for a woman's affection. She knows exactly what this man wants to hear and lets every word melt into his ears.
Why, yes, I couldn't help but notice that you are a king prawn.
Unlike the other ghosts, she's not blue or transparent, but visibly fleshy, which makes it easier for her to trick Pepe into thinking that she's still alive, when really she's a demonic spirit with a sinister cackle and the ability to switch her voice.
How dare you interrupt my wedding?
Audiences are allowed to catch on fast though, because we get to know all of her tragically slain ex-husbands, as we learn all about Constance as a wife and her trademark killing methods, thus nail-bitingly foreshadowing the naive Pepe's fate.
I was chopped up, I was drowned, hey, I was buried in that cookie ground.
All while Pepe himself is exhausted from being overstuffed on grapes and can't hear the red flag warnings coming from Constance's dead lovers. What's worse is that Pepe is all alone in this attic and he'll be locked inside the mansion forever if he doesn't escape by sunrise. It's up to Gonzo to be Pepe's hero, but unfortunately, our beloved alien is trapped inside his very own nightmare-fueled test of fear. So the odds are against poor Pepe, and his wedding is truly a high-stakes life or death ceremony. Constance is maybe the darkest Muppets villain we've ever had. A full-on twisted serial killer who is prepared to murder a Muppet and keep their soul in her home forever. Constantine from Muppets Most Wanted. In this film, the world's most dangerous frog, Constantine, manages to escape from a high-security prison and then switch places with Kermit for a whole Muppets world tour, all while joining Dominic Bad Guy on a treasure hunt. Now, yes, Constantine's Kermit impression is pretty bad.
I am Kermit.
Definitely.
But trust me, it's genuinely very funny hearing this Russian frog failing at an impression this woefully. You might argue that such a bad attempt at imitating Kermit puts the scheme at risk, but Dominic slyly finds a decent cover-up.
He's got a cold, that's why his voice sounds a little bit different at the moment. See?
Plus, Constantine himself is very good at pandering to the troupe, which in turn distracts them from raising suspicion.
Kermit, could I do indoor running of the bulls?
Sure, Zongo. Who cares?
Oh, thank you, Kermit.
I best describe Constantine as the less mature of the film's two villains. However, he makes up for this by being skilled at adapting to setbacks, and knowing exactly how to defuse any situation.
You're my lady, and I'm your man, baby.
Let's also not forget that he's still the most dangerous frog in the world. And the film doesn't completely joke about that title, because we get a whole sequence in which he kicks the butts of humans twice his size, which really hypes up Constantine as the most menacing foe that the Muppets have ever faced. And boy does that add to the tension of the film's finale.
Give up, Constantine! I've got you now!
Bad move, frog.
Ah!
There aren't that many puppet villains in the Muppets movie series, which is a shame, because characters like Constantine really show the creative possibilities and humor potential of a Muppet as a baddie.
Good night, folks!
Doc Hopper from the Muppet Movie. Doc is the CEO of a fast food chain that specializes in fried frog's legs, and he's desperate to make Kermit into the mascot for his restaurant brand. So our villain chases after Kermit for the entire Muppets road trip. Doc's pure unhinged desire to capitalize on Kermit's talents is wildly engaging. It's a cartoony cat and mouse hunt that's fueled by greed and ego, with Hopper never backing down or taking no for an answer. All while he uses every road trip stop for a chance to sway the frog. The more Kermit rejects Hopper, the more intimidating Doc becomes. as the wealthy tycoon's threat tactics go lower and lower, and he hires the worst of the worst henchmen or minions to do his dirty work.
This is Snake Walker. Tell him what you do, Snake.
Kill frogs.
Heck, even if Kermit gets killed by Doc's obsessive hunt down, he's actually happy to turn our hero into a frog burger, because at the end of the day, Hopper just sees Kermit as a piece of meat.
Let me introduce you to your patient. Professor Crossman is the world's leading authority on mind control in frogs.
Mr. Hopper is a fantastic example of using a baddie thematically too. You see, the Muppet movie is all about chasing your dream and the real friends you find along the way, while Kermit manages to make close, genuine relationships with the Muppets he meets and has wholesome, well-intentioned goals. Doc Hopper has to pay his goons to be his fake friends, plus has a very corporate and soulless life ambition.
Because all my life I wanted to own 1,000 frog-leg restaurants, and you're the key, Greenie.
Yeah, well, I've got a dream too. But it's about singing and dancing and making people happy.
I'd also say that Hopper represents the dark side of the Hollywood dream. The crooked scumbag who is offering millions, but you have to sell your dignity and pride in return. LA might be full of gorgeous glamour, but it's also infested with sleazy predators who are out to exploit those struggling to make it big. Long John Silver from Muppet Treasure Island. When young Jim Hawkins boards Captain Spillet's ship to Treasure Island, he meets the crew cook, Long John Silver. John seems nice at first, but we soon learn that he's actually a villainous pirate captain who wants the treasure to himself. The fun thing about the Muppets' take on Long John is how he walks the paper-thin line between suspicious and charming. He's this murky ocean of both red and green flags, which totally throws the audience off very effectively.
Look what a cannibal took off me in exchange for me own life.
He's a slippery and cunning fellow who uses his fake cheery friendliness to trap our heroes. From a scene in which he tries to intoxicate Smollett's crew under the guise of encouraging a mark of celebration, to when he pretends to care about the safety of the escape boats in a bid to rid the Admiral.
I'm not saying our lifeboats are unsafe, sir. I'm not saying we got problems. Still.
Once John can finally drop his humble cook act, he can at long last be his true self, and his pirate pride gets to shine in all of its glory. He's a captain who has no shame in being a criminal buccaneer, and this inspires one of the best Muppet songs to date.
True friendship and adventure are what we can't live without. And when you're a professional pirate...
That's not to say that we now actually know him for real, because we're still left uncertain about his relationship with Jim, who's now a hostage to the pirates. From here on out, we're left to wonder whether Long John is pretending to put on a tough act in front of his crew, or if John was never sincere about his friendship with Jim in the first place. It all creates this fascinating tension that's downright compelling.
We'll be needing your compass, though.
No.
I'll be taking it either way, Jim.
However, we all know that the biggest reason why everyone loves this villain is the one and only Tim Curry. I really mean it when I say that this is one of his best screen performances in history. Not only is Tim amazing at bouncing off of the Muppets, because he treats all the puppets like fellow actors, and tries to consistently match his energy with theirs.
You tore a page from the Holy Scriptures to make a pirate's death sentence.
Here.
Oh, the red-hot gates of hell are creeping open.
But it's also very, very easy to fall for Long John's charms, all thanks to Tim's ability to be lovably charismatic as an actor. At the same time though, Tim is able to maturely tackle the film's more dramatic scenes, using his genuine acting chops to bring earnest emotion to the heart of the film's story.
Oh, hell, Jim. I can never harm you. You're honest and brave and true. You didn't learn that from me.
Next, watch one of my other villain ranking videos. There's loads to choose from. I've been Jambareeqi, cheerio folks.